Hello everyone. Sat Shri Akal, Namaste, Adavarze, Vanakkam. This is Lord Nod and we are right now at Singapore at the ITX Expo. And as you can see, we are at the Armageddon booth. I have a really special guest with us right now. But I have to tell you, this is pretty phenomenal what's happening right now. There is so many people here. Armageddon's done a phenomenal job of doing the Armageddon big tournament here in DOTA. And with me is our special guest, David Parker, also known as Godz. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Well, first reactions. You're at Singapore. Ever been here before?
Yeah, I actually lived in Singapore growing up for 3 years, so I'm somewhat familiar with the culture here, and I really love the city, so I'm really excited to be back, although it has changed a lot.
Well, then it's kind of a homecoming for you, right? So in some matter.
Yeah, it definitely does feel very natural being back here. I've lived in Asia and been around Asian culture for a lot of my life.
Hey, excellent. Do you know any Asian languages?
Unfortunately not. I want to learn Chinese though.
Oh, you are? So China's taking over the world. And, well, he's actually, some background on him. You're an Aussie, right?
Yep, I started out in Australia. I'm from Australia, and that's where I started out casting.
Oh, excellent. So tell us about the Aussie scene in casting.
Well, Australia, as far as the esports scene there goes, there's not many good teams, but apparently there's a lot of casters. Most of the known Dota 2 casters, well, myself as well as Toby, we're both Australian. So apparently we do one thing right, and that is breed casters. Well,
why do you think that happens? Because I know is it the Aussie twang? Is it, I don't know.
I think Australians just have, I mean, in general, they're pretty natural when it comes to speaking English as a first language. And then for myself as well as Toby, we got a bit of a head start because based with all the Dota going on in Asia, we're the two who are in the similar time zone. Being based in Australia, all the Southeast Asian countries, English isn't their first language, so it's a lot harder for them to get into commentating.
Excellent point. So you've traveled the world, you were at the International last year, you were in the part of the analyst team. Tell us about the scene. Why is Asia so much better at, and even if you remove Korea and put it on one side, why is Asia so much better at Dota and now Dota 2?
I think a lot of it comes down to discipline and just their approach towards the game, especially the Chinese teams. They just take this very professional approach. They live in team houses, they train together, they have proper training regimens. The Western scene right now, I don't want to say casual, but they're a lot more just sort of lackadaisical about the whole playing professionally.
Outside China, we were with Navi at the World Cup and we were talking to them. And Navi's comment was, this is nowhere close to the international. So even the best tournaments that are happening across the world, we're not seeing excellent tournaments. So there's obviously the best team which kind of gets there. And then there's everyone around them. What does it take to go ahead and get from a really, really good national team to a great international team?
Well, the big difference is always going to be just synergizing well. Dota's a game which is, I mean, it's very important to have the individual skills, but you have to get everything coming together as a team, and there's very few teams in the world that just have that perfect synergy. IG from China being one of them. Navi, when they're on their game, are one of them, but they're also a team who do lack a bit of consistency.
Excellent point. Now, you're here. We have 3 teams who are playing in the finals. There's a loser bracket which is coming up, and then there is the winners bracket, and that goes. What do you think about the quality of the 3 teams here?
We've got a loser bracket match between Awake as well as First Departure. First Departure is a really strong local team from Singapore. They've had some good recent wins. And then in the grand final, you've got ABC, who coming out from Malaysia. You've got Winter, who used to play with Orange Esports. You've got some other top sort of former HON players and just former MUFC players. They're a really strong, well-rounded team. Awake's a team from Tan, and they've, I think, caught a lot of people by surprise. A lot of people didn't quite know how good they are. And this tournament as a whole has really just sort of brought spotlight to some of the upcoming Southeast Asian teams who, a year or 2 from now, could be the teams competing at the international. Yeah,
well, I hope we'd see more international teams. Unfortunately, we had 2 Indian teams coming here, and they couldn't make it at last minute because of some administrative issues. And I wanted to go ahead and ask this one big question, which has always perturbed me about Dota and versus Dota 2. And I know I get a lot of people up in tizzies when I ask this. But what is you, as an analyst, as a person who's very closely associated with the game, your view on the other MOBA scene, which is LoL, and how LoL keeps on becoming bigger and bigger and bigger, but do you think intrinsically at the grassroots the game is different?
I think both games, LoL and Dota 2, are very different, and I think they both appeal to different crowds. I think there's a place for both of them in the competitive esports scene. I don't have anything against the game League of Legends. I just prefer Dota 2. Much like people who play League of Legends, most of them, they just prefer League of Legends. It's just 2 different games, 2 different scenes, and I think it's actually really good for the scene that they both exist. It sort of it drives both parties to be more innovative with how they go, the direction they take with their game. It's similar to how with my stream I compete with other streamers. I have to keep improving my product to basically get more viewers to compete with them. So it's a similar thing with Dota and LoL. They've just got to keep basically pushing each other to get better and better.
Okay. Now some more technical questions in terms of the game. What do you think about the current balance of the game?
I think the balance is it's taking a good direction. There was a sort of period of a month or two where there was I think DreamHack last year where I was casting in Sweden was sort of to me, a state where the game wasn't in a very good place. The teams were playing a very sort of passive, boring style of play, just focusing on stacking up their neutrals, killing it with hero. Basically, it was like the Sven Mag, really kind of boring. I honestly, it was disgusting watching some of those games. But I think the way that the teams are playing now, especially last time we had the G League finals in China, which showed some fantastic sort of innovative strategies, some new picks, some really creative ways of playing, and I really like what we saw.
Yeah, well, we've been seeing that. We've seen a lot of people go ahead and really get into 2-0, 3-0, 3-2 kind of a scene within the first 4 minutes of the game, right? And I think that's great for the game because one of the biggest problems as a caster sitting down is most of the games, if they just get into farming mode, is 40 minutes of, and he's walking around and he is still killing stuff. And yeah, it's how to deal with stuff like that.
As a caster, you just have to look for something interesting. If you've got someone co-casting with you, it's easy because then you just bounce off of them. You can joke about the game. You can just start even sort of going off on a tangent, talk about something in your personal life. I mean, it's harder when you're a solo caster because then you're like, well, I can't really have a personal conversation because I'm having a conversation with myself. So then you just look a bit crazy. So as a solo caster like I'm doing here, it's a bit hard because I have to focus on what's happening in the game, talk about what's going on, and when there's not something going on, well, then I sort of then I have to struggle a bit.
Well, yeah, and you've just talked about co-casting, and I personally believe that's one of the better ways to do it. So tell us about your co-caster back home. He's also David, right?
Yeah, we're David and David. His nickname's LD, and we've been casting together for about the last 6 months or so, and we get along really well. We synergize well when we're casting, and he's a really great guy.
Yeah, well, guys, if you ever want to go ahead and do this, he has his own Twitch channel. It's down below. You can go ahead and catch it anytime you want. What about, what's your view on sponsorships for going forward? Like, you know, casters are getting there. The StarCraft scene's got Day 9, who's doing really well. Husky's doing really well. What do you think? And in Dota 2, we definitely have people like Toby doing well. What do you think about the future of casting in the game?
I think there's there's already a lot of success stories with casters. I mean, especially the StarCraft 2 scene. I think Dota 2 is taking a similar model to what we see in StarCraft 2, where you have your YouTube people like Purge, who's sort of generating all this sort of great YouTube content to help people learn, and then you have your big casters, Toby, myself, LD, AC, and Draskell. They're really sort of getting more tournament exposure. They're getting flown around to LAN events around the world. I'm here in Singapore, and it's really great to see that. I think there's a lot of future for the Dota 2 scene, especially for casters.
One probably needling question is we're seeing a lot of game producers, StarCraft, Dota 2, Dota 2's got Dota 2 TV, and they're all pushing to go away from Twitch and from YouTube, right? Where they're saying, no, that's our content, that's our intellectual property, you can't be really putting there. And that's coming out very actively in most of the games. Even in first-person shooters, you have Call of Duty TV or a Seasons Pass, which is there. What's your view of the companies trying to go ahead and keep everything in that little closed universe?
I think Valve's idea is they want Dota 2 to be a complete product. If someone wants to learn Dota 2, they don't want the players to have to go onto YouTube, to go onto a website to find a guide. They want everything inside their game. I don't think it's as much about sort of making it so that YouTube, Twitch TV aren't successful. For them, it's all about making their entire product encompass everything from playing to learning to watching competitive Dota. They want everything available within their client. It's not so much as I don't think they're just trying to compete with Twitch TV. I think they figure that they can offer a service that Twitch TV can, and they can because people can watch inside the game. You can follow a hero, you get your player perspective. There's a lot you can learn from watching the actual replay, which you can't get from Twitch TV. Twitch TV, you only get the commentator's views. So I think they're two different products. I think there's always going to be a place for Twitch TV because that's where you can have all your production quality. You have your pre-game show, you can have your analyst desk. You can't have that with Dota TV. So there's still a place for both products.
Well, excellent point. And this is something which we've been trying to go ahead and think of. A great pre-game show, a great pause show. Even if you can go ahead and get some nice content going, even when the game gets paused. And something as a great analysis post the show. So let's talk about analysis. how do you think that scene is panning out? Are strategies being really analyzed, or can you now even get into a prediction mode of what's happening in the game and how that's moving forward?
I think it depends on the team. Some teams play a much more predictable style, and when I say predictable, it's not always bad. Sometimes there's some teams who pick to a very standard convention. LGD's initial China's team are one of them. Winter's team here, ABC, are one of those teams as well. They have a very sort of set style of drafting, and they basically just do the same strategy over and over and again, and they perfect it. Then you have the teams who are a bit more sort of innovative, like IG, Na'Vi, who look to sort of do something different every time, catch their opponents by surprise. So it depends on the team a bit, and as far as someone who's analyzing the game, it's really interesting to see when those new strategies come out and try and figure out what's the captain thinking, what is Puppy thinking with this new pick of his when he pulls out the Nyx Assassin at the International, what are they actually trying to achieve with this? So I think the captains themselves, like people like Puppy, people like Faith over at IG, they're really sort of trying to just trying to just break down the game bit by bit and find every possible viable pick.
Well, probably coming to the end of the show, one of the favorite things I always like to go ahead and ask is, what's your dream pick? Forget the other team. What's your dream Dota 2 5 picks?
As in Dota 2 players or as in heroes?
Oh, let's do both.
For players, YYF is my favorite player in the world, so he would definitely be on that team. Then probably, this is going to take some time to think through. Probably looking at EG Fear, I think he's a fantastic carry player. And I'd probably just stack it with the rest of the players, probably some of the Chinese players. Super from DK, and then for the supports, looking at Chuan and Faith from IG. So 3 IG players, but I think...
Hey, IG kind of wins there, right? So, and what about characters?
I love micro heroes. I love Meepo. Meepo is one of my favorite heroes to watch, so there'd definitely be someone playing Meepo. I'd probably put Chuan on Meepo just because I'd love to see that. Apart from Meepo, I love to see just aggressive type heroes. I like to see the Wisp combo, see Wisps flying around the CK around the map. And then your big team fight heroes. Heroes like Mag, heroes like Enigma hitting those big ultimates.
Well, there you go. That's the big show. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Lord Nod Productions saying hello to you from Singapore. And go tune onto his channel. Go say hi to him. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.